everyone. Welcome to another episode of the India InsurTech podcast. I'm Akshay. Well, most insurance conversations in India start with distribution on how to sell more policies. Today's guest flips that on its head. He measures his company and people by how many people they're able to retain and the claims that they're able to help service. I'm today in conversation with Ruchir, who's the founder and CEO of OneAssure. First of all, Richard, thank you so much for taking the time for this conversation.
Thank you for having me, Akshay.
So today what we'll do is we'll try and dive deeper into why claims and possibly not distribution will define the next decade of Indian InsurTech. Before we get there, going through your profile, I figured you helped build Exitel, InstaMojo, QMath in your before OneAssure, which are all great consumer tech companies, but having no relation to insurance as an industry. So
Yes.
just out of curiosity, what is it that really pulled you to insurance as a sector?
And it actually happened by accident, if I were to be very candid and honest about it. Uh, all of those companies had one thing in common. I come from a Gujarati family, so cash flow, being profitable, was always at the core of it, right? Largely consumer business and profitability does not go hand in hand, if you've noticed this, right? In India, especially. And Exotel was a B2B business, telecom. Then let's say Instamojo was payments. And then QMath was like education, largely, right? And Exotel and Instamojo were both very highly regulated businesses. One by TRAI, the other by RBI, right? Payments comes under RBI's purview. And I realized very early on that how to navigate complexities in a regulated business became like natural to me because I spent about 5, 6 years in both these companies put together, right? When I was doing insurance, I actually didn't want to start an insurance distribution business or the way where we would go ahead and so that was the idea, right? Like I didn't want to do distribution, so we built software. And when we started building software, realized that in India, no one values software, right? Every year I would face a margin compression. Forget every year, every quarter, I'm like people are renegotiating on what they've signed for the year, right? And I wanted to get out of this cycle, and I couldn't see the business becoming large enough. And because of that experience, I stumbled upon the idea for OneAssure largely because everyone was trying to sell insurance. No one talks about claiming insurance or servicing insurance, right? And there's no claim first distributor or platform which existed. And that's where I saw the gap largely and then just double down on it.
Perfect. I think that was one of the things that I wanted to lead to, and you've already covered that, which is pivoting from a software to a consumer. But going a bit deeper, I think you've mentioned somewhere that insurance in India is not really a technology problem, but more of an experience gap, if I may put it that way. Is there any
Yes, correct.
specific story instance that really led you to believe, or any
Actually,
patterns that
many.
you saw?
Many, right? So let's start with the way traditionally insurance is sold, right? It's sold and forgotten, right? So at the time of renewal, you don't know. And a lot of times, like as a product also, if you ask me what is insurance, it's a promise of claim in future, effectively, right? And so earlier you used to get those policy documents. Now the people send soft copies. So it's a PDF lying in your folder somewhere, which you never know when you will use, right? And the experience largely is broken everywhere, right from origination on why you need it, because we are underpenetrated, to if we need it, how much can we utilize and how do we show value of this, right? And at each stages, there are complexities involved, right? And I have noticed that once you acquire a customer, right, the Indian mentality is to sell as many products to that customer as possible to maximize. What that does is dilutes the entire experience for the customer effectively, right? Like you can't like do justice to everything by doing everything, frankly, right? Then you would need infinite resources, right? And that's so we said, yeah, we can't solve for everything. Let's take one product, but solve it end to end. In fact, we did not even try to launch another product for the first 4 years of our existence. So that's a
Interesting.
hard call, right? In fact, I judge myself for in saying no to a lot of things. I get questioned every other thing. Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? I'm like, are we going to do justice to what we are doing today? Have we like achieved our North Star metric? And if we have, and when we do, and when we have a like experience which is predictable, we will go and move and do solve for another category or a product today in the company.
So it's more about horizontally expanding yourself versus vertically going deeper in one area,
Perfect,
as you put
right?
it.
Because and some of these products are highly very complicated, right? And they keep changing. It's impossible to be like on top of everything. So think about it. Like I give you a simple analogy. Like you have standalone health insurance companies and you have general insurance companies.
Correct.
General insurance companies can also distribute health, right?
Correct.
Then why the
Correct.
need of building a standalone health insurance company?
Correct.
Right? Because I guess the regulator saw that the focus is not there because the general guys have an
Correct.
optionality to do so many more products and they can decide not to do health if they want to at one point in time, right?
Correct.
So think about us very similarly. We think that health insurance is like the most difficult product to solve for. We said we'll do that first before doing anything else. And unless we do justice, there's no point in doing other products.
Yeah. And as you went deeper into health insurance, and specifically, as you said, you took a claims first approach to build the organization, right? And I'm sure, see, many insurers, many other distributors, insurtech organizations, everyone understands the importance of claims. But what, in your opinion, do you think are top two, three friction points where actually claims fall apart today, whether it is for the manufacturer, which is insurers, or any other distributor, or what is it that you really tried to change, which led to a model which is
Okay.
different?
So 90% of the claim problems today exist because of non-disclosure at the time of taking the policy. Now, this non-disclosure can be intentional and non-intentional, intentional as well, right? When it's non-intentional, no one had a bad intention largely, right? So if you didn't know something about yourself, then there is no way to do
Yeah.
it. Like there's no way to tell someone, right?
Right.
Problem was intentional non-disclosure, and that's where we took approach where we said that, boss, if we are going to help the insurers, because if we let the intentional ones get away with claims, then tomorrow the people who are non-intentional will also suffer, right? Because the insurers are looking at loss ratios at the end of the day. It's a
Of
business
course.
for them as well, right? So now, how do you ensure that you don't missell? And how do you ensure build those guardrails in your system and your entire thing? One of the things we did is we don't hire from insurance as a sector at all, right? I've written about it as well.
Interesting.
It takes us longer to basically for the person to be effective for us, but that's the solution we found, right? And this has helped us because our retention numbers speak for itself. We ensured that we didn't hire from the sector. We ensured we trained someone from bottom up. We ensured that they are thorough and they set expectations correctly. We also over communicate because at times assuming that someone knows something itself is a problem, right?
Mm.
Now you'll tell me that your insurance policy has like some 43 pages. How are you going to now explain all of this? So then
Correct.
some parts of this we went ahead and gave the power to the user. We launched our AI bot called PolicyPal. You can ask any questions on PolicyPal and you're able to do it, and it's embedded into our entire product, right? So you ask, and we also push out content where we say, yeah, judge your advisor. In fact, judge all of us. So do we have a what will happen if this situation happened? What happens if I go to a non-network hospital? How are you going to help me? What are you going to do differently which others are not doing? Right? And if you ask these four, five, six fundamental questions, then you hold everyone accountable also, and we make sure that uh, the expectations are correctly set, right? In all of these things, and we over communicate. That's one mantra. Like if I will tell you that I've told everyone. We also did one interesting thing is that we said that we'll call you in the time of need instead of you calling us. Because the experience
Wow.
that someone has to call someone, wait on a call center sort of like helpline is completely unwarranted for when you're in a stressful situation, right? So
Absolutely.
we instead said, you just let us know the time and day you want us to call you. We will call you at that time on that day in case of a claim. So these are some of the things we think we've done. We have a long way to go, but I think some of them played an important role in us getting where we are today.
So just trying to pick the two, three important ones that I could pick. One was try and resolve for unintentional sort of non-disclosures at the time of taking a policy. Second was being available and actually proactively reaching out to a user at the time of a stressful situation. And third is maybe helping them understand the nuances of their policy or the product
Right.
they've bought better, which essentially helps you on claims. Fair
Yes.
enough. Since you already touched upon it with PolicyPal as a product, right? And leading into what's happening today with AI embedding itself into everyone's lives day on day, week on week. I also was reading somewhere, I believe it was a Google Cloud report where you've cut down some of your policy processing time from 10 minutes to about 60 seconds. Uh, where, and if we take a view on claims specifically, and one aspect you already touched upon, but where do you see AI really playing a concrete role in helping solve claims better?
Multiple places, yeah. So one of the other things which we are now building is a claim spot. What we've solved, PolicyPal largely helps you with curating policies, asking questions about your own policy, and maybe evaluating other policies and figuring out pros and cons. And basic version of claims can be done there. But I feel data is key here because you know that insurers and the distributors have a regulator, but the hospitals don't largely,
Yeah,
which effectively means some hospital in some state can charge any obnoxious amount, and there is no way for us to figure out. Now, how do we protect our customers from such a situation? Is that we tell them, like, see, there are two kinds of situations when it comes to claims, right? You have a planned hospitalization, you have an unplanned emergency
correct.
hospitalization. 90% of the cases are planned hospitalization. 10% of the cases are unplanned emergency where I can't do anything today. So if you ask me, what can I do today? I don't know. I'm still figuring that out. For the planned ones, at least we figured out कि यार, we have our team now who gets on a call with the customer, helps them understand, say, like, let's take an example of a knee replacement operation. It's a very basic operation. It's not done in a hurry. You have at least 1, 2 months, or you can drag it for a month ahead also. It's not going to impact anyone for that matter. But we are very thorough, right? We make sure that, hey, how much each hospital is charging. We benchmark that with other hospitals charging. In fact, someone from our team actually speaks to the hospitals if need be, right? And we make sure that the customer is not overpaying, and the customer is also still getting the care he needs or deserves. And all of that is managed, right? Like, because now it is planned, he walks in with a pre-op and he walks out his, because everything is fixed in such a situation, he walks out even on a Sunday in the morning, which is unheard of in case of cashless claims. So we are able to do all of these things by using data. We know some hospitals in some areas overcharge. Some hospitals follow an open billing, which means they are prone. So a lot of times, I'll give you another interesting example, right? Where we play a proactive role. One, a lot of times you buy a policy and suddenly a claim happens in the first 3 months or 4 months. What ends up happening is the experience for the customer is broken because the insurer is thinking, did he hide something from me? Or why is this claim happening because of some non-disclosure of some conditions? Or he will put it under investigation. Now, a normal person will not know what is happening. What we end up doing is we let the customer know in advance that this may happen, be prepared. Parallelly, uh, arrange the money for your reimbursement claim. If there is any other policy which you have, give it to us. We'll help you navigate this entire situation and take
Got
ownership of it, right? And it will take you so and so time to get this done. By then, we are also figuring out that there have been times where it was the customer who didn't disclose something to us. And then in that case, the insurer was right. And there were times where the customer themselves did not know. So it was not like they could do anything about it, right? And in both cases, we've been able to navigate the entire situation. In the case where customer did not, some of these customers are reasonable. You can tell them that this is why this is not going to. We'll endorse this condition. You will have to serve the waiting period, and then next time you will do it. If you have corporate, we'll only support you using the corporate policy to claim this. In case of unintentional, investigation happens and they have to pay upfront, largely in most cases. We try to get it done in cashless as much as possible, but sometimes it's just beyond our control. But we
yeah,
make sure the reimbursement happens in 2 to 3 months and it's all taken care of largely.
got it. So if I understand correct, with AI coming in, a lot of this operations effort, which today is done by people, and the team will essentially become leaner, and you'll be able to
I
do it
agree.
much more with AI.
No, actually,
Uh,
it will augment the human, right? So
fair,
people in my team become far more efficient than they
fair
are
enough.
today.
Fair enough. Just shifting gears and maybe taking a slightly more broader view on the industry beyond claims, right? Insurance in India has generally been a bit of a trust deficit industry, and
Yes.
majorly on the matter of claims, right? At the end of the day, you're not sure whether you'll get what you're paying for or not. Uh, in your opinion, what do you think will it take to really rebuild that trust in the industry? Is it more technology, regulation, transparency, anything else?
Let's first accept the facts, right? Insurance as an industry worldwide is the industry with the lowest NPS. I don't know if you know
Oh,
this, but that's a fact largely,
interesting.
right? It's not only India, it's across the world where this happens. Now, if you go and check X or some of these portals, you will say health insurance is a scam,
Fair.
effectively. And there are a lot of people who will go out and say this, right? It is a complicated product which typically people end up buying from places where they should not at some time point. They just don't know how to go about doing it. And there are too many things to solve for largely. Trust will only get built when, like it works both ways. Not a one-way streak that the customers will also, insurers, customers, intermediaries all have a role to play, right? And
Right.
only if we trust largely are honest and transparent with each other, trust will be a consequence of that, in my opinion, right?
Mhm.
No insurer wants to like let go of a customer, especially in health, right? Their model itself makes sure that they don't break even as a manufacturer in the first 6 7 years. So if you lose customers and have a leaky funnel, then the CAC and the costs are unsustainable in future for you, right? As an intermediary, we don't like losing customers, right? As a customer, he doesn't want to pay out of his pocket when tomorrow he needs to get hospitalized and his wealth is getting depleted. So there is a problem each one of us are trying to solve here. It's just that I guess the gap will get bridged by just being honest,
Yes.
transparent, and over communicating, in my opinion, over a period of time. And I guess there should be a lot more players entering the market because we have such low penetration today, right?
Yeah.
Uh, right? And that's how I think it will get solved eventually. I don't have the correct answer to this, but believe what we are trying to do to some extent now. I'm seeing that there are other companies who are trying to come up in the space, trying to do something very similar. And we actually think they are helping us become better, largely.
Perfect. As a closing thought, Ruchir, what if you look ahead, say the next 3 to 5 years, what excites you the most about, let's say, a AI-led insurance experience that you build and so on and so forth, and what's coming up ahead for us?
I'll summarize that in one line. You can do a lot more with less, which was not possible 2 years back, right? If you ask me, mm, like at the scale at which we are, most companies would be 2 to 3x our size. We are not that size because we've been able to use technology effectively across the entire value chain, right? In fact, the one decision I make or I think about is that if I'm hiring someone, do I have enough work, right? So we believe that we don't want to throw people at problems rather than find a tech solution if exists, implement it, and then get the person to like become far more efficient than actually hiring someone and then tomorrow you suddenly realize that there is no work for the person you hired.
Thank you so much, Ruchir, for the conversation today. It's great
Thanks,
speaking to
Akshay.
you.
Thanks for having me. Same here.
Thank you so much.